boys and girls, welcome to another episode on our YouTube channel. My name is Craig and I'll be your host in this vlog where I discuss and rate craft beer or any beer and attempt to repair electronic consumer good that you might find in the average South African home. You may be wondering about the ominous music in the beginning. Well, that's because today the tale that we have on our bench is full of woe. My attempt at a spaghetti western, a little bit of humor there. Today I have a Sony Bravia TV brought to me by one of my very, very old friends, Rick. And you may be wondering why this is a tale of woe. Well, I need to pour beer for this one. Today I'm going to be drinking this Lion Lager because I can't waste the craft beer on this repair. The tale is too sad. Lion Lager, brewed by AB InBev here in South Africa. One of my favorite go-to commercial beers. Easy drinking, 4% alcohol. It's got a nice malt profile, not too bitter. You can't beat that. Anyway, on to our tale of woe. I've known Rick since junior school. We've been through our school career together, studied together, even worked together, owned a company together at one stage. We've worked all over the place together. Anyway, today's tale of woe. This Sony Bravia TV behind me that you see, this is where Czech logic comes into it. Rick gave this TV to his mother-in-law, and then it out. So Rick is wrong because he knew it and he gave it to his mother-in-law. This is Czech logic. If Rick didn't know out, he gave it to his mother-in-law, well then he's still wrong because he took a chance that it might out. Anyway, it's not the problem. Let's get it open. I've put it on the bed because it's too big for my bench upstairs. We'll open it up and I'll teach you some of my golden rules of electronics and we'll take it from there. Let's get this shot set up and we'll see you in the next one. I'm just going to open it and we'll take it from there. Cheers. Okay, boys and girls, we have the back cover of the Sony Bravia. It's a KV404 model. Typically these things are all the same from this range. The first golden rule I'm going to teach you, Craig's first golden rule of electronics. Thou shalt not blow thyself to fucking pieces. Repeat after me. Thou shalt not blow thyself to pieces. If you do, then I have to find more viewers, and that's difficult enough as it is. So please, thou shalt not blow thyself to pieces. The second golden rule of electronics by Craig. Thou shalt measure the AC mains input for short circuit before putting power on. On our circuit down here, here's our AC mains. This little input here comes on here on the board. What I'm going to do, I'm going to switch my multimeter to ohms. I'm just going to measure across those two inputs and we should get 1.2 mega ohms, so we don't have a short. The third golden rule of electronics, thou shalt measure voltages. So if we follow the first golden rule, thou shalt not blow thyself to pieces, well, if we make sure there's no short here, then great, nothing is going to blow the hell up in our face, hopefully. On this board, I just want to move this out the way. We have our AC input here. We have a fuse down here. Some filtering circuitry going on here. Common mode choke. This is a switch mode power supply. So two common mode chokes. With these capacitors and its little associated equipment, what these things do is they make sure that the switching frequency that's happening in the circuitry over here does not go back into your AC mains. The switching frequencies here are typically a couple of hundred kilohertz, anything up to 80 kilohertz. So you don't want this going back into your 50 hertz AC mains because it interferes with other equipment. A thing to take note of, if you look at the board, you can see there's this edge marking, this white stripy stuff going on all around here. What that means is this part in here in the middle is the hot side. This is the AC side. The AC side gets rectified. It'll go through switching transistors that are controlled by some little controller on the board, and it will drive these small little transformers at a higher pulse width modulation frequency. That will give us more voltage. So although you may have 230 volts here, chances are over here you're going to have closer to 400 volts. It's a more efficient way of switching things and whatever. So what we've done is we've made sure that there's no short here, then we're not going to blow ourselves to pieces. What we're going to do is we're going to put power on the board and we're going to measure the voltages outside here. You see it's outside that line. I'm going to measure voltages here. These will be DC voltages, typically around the range of 12 volt DC, 15 volts, 24 volts, 3.3 volts. It is safer to measure here initially. If I'm getting the voltages here, then I know this part of the circuit is doing what it should, and I don't have to play around in the high voltage side of it. Much safer. Rick did the right thing with this board. He bought it to me first before he opened it. We have another video coming up. I'm just waiting for the parts, where Rick thought he could repair it himself and made enough shit to sink half the European empire. Guys, really, if you're not sure what's going on here, you can hurt yourself. And as I say, electronics is a delicate thing. Chicks are much more delicate than oaks. They can solder better than us. They have a natural tendency to care first. They don't use force first. So we'll see in a later video what Rick did. Either way, I'm going to bash Rick. If you do happen to see Rick in the street, please don't punch him. Give him a hug. He probably needs it. He did a good thing here. He's trying to help his mother-in-law. So let's get power on the board. I'm going to set the shot up for that, and then we're going to measure up here and see, are we getting these voltages? Is this power board switching on? We'll explain a little bit more about how that works. Up here you don't really have to worry about these things. These are inverters and things that are going off to the backlight of the screen. What is actually behind here is an LED matrix that shines against the LCD, which gives you your picture. I think we need to first see if we're getting all our power and isolate this, that we can get this TV to switch on, and then find out what's wrong from there. So let's get that set up. By the way, a big shout out to my mate Rick. He gave me this other tripod, so now I've got two of these big tripods and my little Gorilla tripod, and this is actually, I think, is working much better. So let me get the shot set up and then we'll plug in power together and we'll take it from there. Right, so I've set the shot up. We've just moved around to another side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take AC mains. If you remember down here, just plug it in. Important, there's only a hot and a cold coming in here. In other words, a live and a neutral. No earth. Well, nothing blew up in our face. Wonderful. What I'm going to do, just to make sure we've got power, I'll put that down there, keeping my fingers out of the way. Yeah, I'm sure you can see it. Yeah, we've got our voltage. So we have 240 volts, 230 volts on this circuit. What I have done, I've just measured on the DC side from the ground side to the chassis, anywhere on this chassis, and that is a common point. So on the cold side, the 0 volt or ground is referenced to the chassis. So I'm just going to get a clamp my common mode of my multimeter onto the chassis, zoom in a little bit on this connector so that you can sort of see what I'm seeing, what I'm measuring, and we'll see if we get our voltages there. Okay guys, I've got my common link to the chassis, I've got my multimeter set up. I'm just going to come around the side here. I'm going to measure some voltages. If I look at this thing, it's telling me I've got a regulated 12 volt. Oh well, that's dead. What you notice is I've changed the tip. Regulated 12 volt dead. 12 volt dead. 12 volt dead. Now that could be what I actually want to check. Are we turning this TV on? So if I look down here, I've got a power on. I've got 0 volt there. But I have a 3.3 volt standby. So I'm going to measure the power on again. I'm going to press the power on button. And you heard that click. That board is switched on. Now if we go up here and measure our 12 volt, you see we've got our 12 volts. Perfect. Excellent. So this board is now switched on. I just want to go through that again. What you have is you have a 3.3 or standby voltage, and you have a power on voltage. So you see our power on is off. We come up 1 to our 3.3, 3.4. What's a few percent? A puff of a percent for there. So what that does is it goes through this board up here, tells this other board to switch on. So I'm going to just go back to our power on voltage. I'm going to press the power on switch, and you'll see if I move the point out the way, you hear the click, and it tells this board to switch on. Great, that means we have another problem. Now we need to find out what is going on further on. Are we getting voltages out to the different boards? Obviously we know the board here on the right that you can't really see is working. It doesn't find a fault with the board, and it said I'm happy, switch on. Now let's go and measure on the other side now. Are we getting voltages to those different things? What we can see, I wonder if you can see it. You can't see it. Let me try and do this while we here manually. I'm just going to zoom out. Where's a nice one that you can sort of see? Ah, there. You can see that LED backlight down there. Let's just lock it and zoom in a little bit. So what you should see when I switch the power off is that LED go out. When I switch the board back on, oh, it didn't come on. There it's on. I forget it takes a bit of time. Obviously it takes time to run through all its processing and whatever. And there, so the LED backlight is switching on. So this inverter up here is working fine. So now we need to find what is going on with this TV, because to me it's switching on. Let's rearrange the shot and we'll take it from there. Okay, boys and girls, you're really not going to believe this. So the backlight is on now. Rick told me this thing was dead completely. And what I found from the last shot, I was just checking this little connector here. Comes from this board here. This is your video processing unit. So our power board, remember our 3.3 volt. This board looks at everything, says, okay, I'm happy, you can switch on. That was our 3.3 volt standby voltage back to here. What I found is this little connector over here was loose. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have a sip of beer. I've just hooked up the HDMI connected to my PC. I've tightened that connector. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to flip the TV over so you can see the screen. And we might play a little bit of my type of music, which you'll probably get a copyright infringement for, but just to show you that it's working. So I'll set that up and we'll see you in the next shot. So here we are, boys and girls, linked up to my computer, just the HDMI output, which I believe is what Rick's mother-in-law uses. So let's see. Okay. Stupid repair. But at least Rick had the right idea. He brought it to me. And yeah. Anyway, let's put the TV back together again. We do our closeout and take it from there. Cheers. Right, boys and girls, we've come to another end of another episode on our channel. Today on review, Lion Lager, brewed by AB and Bev, who brought out SAB in South Africa. Oh no, come. Beer style, I would go with International Lager. Style 2B, International Amber Lager. Like I said, I like commercial beer if it's good, and this is one of my go-to commercial beers to drink. Very low on the aromas and everything. There's no sort of diacetyl or anything with it. It's malt driven. It's got quite a nice malt taste. I like the beer. I'm not going to rate it. I don't think it really would compete on a international level, so I would just give you a drinkability for it, and I like it. I would drink this the whole day. So to come back to our repair, Rick tried to do the right thing. He gave his mother-in-law a TV. It was probably a nice gesture. There was nothing really inherently wrong with the TV except something had pulled out. Now I don't know how that could have happened. I have pulled out the power board and the video control board and everything and checked it for dry solder joints, so there's nothing there. I think probably the power connector not the power connector, the video connector that was pulled out, and a few little things that went wrong, human error, probably is what dropped Rick in the shit. It is a very nice TV. I'm going to let it run for a couple of days just to see if anything sets in, but I don't believe so. As always, be careful when you're working with these sort of circuits, because there is a high voltage there, and it can hurt you. It can really make a bad day for you. Remember the 3 rules: thou shalt not blow thyself to pieces, thou shalt measure AC input for shorts, and then thou shalt measure voltage. It will keep you safe. It will help you find the fault. This beer, I'm not actually convinced of a pale or an amber lager. It might actually fit in the pale, but it doesn't fit in the Corona sort of thing for me. So I'm going to stick, well, it's borderline 2B, 2A. It's up to you. Drinkability, easier for these guys. I like it. It's a craft beer brewer that likes commercial beer. It's easy. You go to the bottle store and you buy one. You know what you're going to get every time. There's really nothing to it. It's a no-brainer. If you're faced with a craft beer that you don't know that costs 4 times the price versus a beer that you do know, what are you going to buy? What I do get out of it is a very moderate DMS, a sulfur smell. Sulfur, anyone that's been around Cecil factories would know that rotten egg smell. But this is so subtle. It's it's not even meant to be there. As always, I hope you enjoyed the repair. It wasn't rocket science today, unfortunately. If you like what you're seeing, give us a thumbs up. And conversely, if you don't like what you're seeing, give us a thumbs down. It has to work both ways. If you want to see more of these videos, please hit the subscribe little thing in the tab, and hit the bell notification if you want to see when we do post videos. Just make sure with the bell notification that you select that you always get the notifications, because I believe YouTube has changed their algorithm again. I don't know what's going on there. I don't particularly care. I just make the videos for fun, and we take it from there. But anyway, take care, be safe, follow my rules, and you'll be okay. Cheers.